Hello, everyone. Welcome to Developing Palates. I am Aaron Loomis coming to you from the Drew Estate Studio. With me today is Jiunn, Lou, Seth, guys, and from the Villiger Cigar Studios, John McTavish. How you guys doing?
International.
There you go.
Which is appropriate for this cigar.
True. You guys doing great at it. Take it. All right.
Oh yeah. Sorry, I was just reviewing my notes. I forgot what I thought about this.
Huh? What are we live? What?
All right. I'm going to try my best at this French pronunciation, but we're talking about the Crowned Heads Le Pâtissier. I don't know. Pretty good. All right.
Nailed it.
Go with it. Cigar is Lonsdale-ish, 6.5 inch by 44. Comes out of the Tabacalera Pichardo factory in Nicaragua. Wrapper is Connecticut broadleaf. The binder is Nicaraguan Jalapa. Filler is Nicaraguan Ometepe, Pueblo Nuevo, and from Costa Rica. Price wise $10.50. Cigars released in December of 2021. And we picked these cigars up from Corona Cigar Company. So if you are in the Florida area, should stop in for a cigar and a libation, or go to coronacigar.com and you can place your order online. They'll ship it right out to you. So with all that out of the way, Jiunn, what was your overall experience like with this cigar?
Love the size of the cigar. Do not like the flavor profile. It was one of those cigars where like you immediately light it up and it's real charry and bitter and off-putting. Got a lot of this char cedar, white pepper, just kind of this semi-gritty kind of earthiness, dirt gritty kind of a thing going on. And there's just the whole time there was nothing to break up any of that like overtly earthy, cedary, charred kind of a note. And on the retro, it was way too much pepper as well. So yeah, not my cup of tea.
All right, Seth, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, what kind of Jiunn said, lots of earth, mineral qualities, charred wood notes, lots of black pepper, cream and mocha, meaningful in strength and body, and it just kind of continued to blast my palate throughout the whole experience. John?
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing more disappointing for me than a cigar that kind of starts out and you can kind of see some promising character there, and then it just kind of falls off for you. And then you're like, oh, great, I have another 2 hours of not a great experience. Although I guess in this case, there's only an hour, 41 minutes. So I don't know what I'm wanting about. No, it did start out really interesting because it had espresso wood, nutmeg, and certainly that earth, but the earth wasn't immediately intense. The pepper was certainly intense. So if you're not a fan of really blasty pepper, this is probably not for you. I did get some nice creaminess, and I got a little leather to sort of balance everything out. But as it progressed, it started to become unbalanced. So minerality, some chocolate balanced out the minerality, and then it kind of became a little cedar and leather forward halfway through. And then by the second third, just really unbalanced. So you had components of baking spices, bread, and wood, but they weren't sort of harmonizing. And then that earth that everyone's talking about kind of became prominent on the palate. And then there's some mild bitterness. And it's like, okay, well, this is not, the flavor treat that I want. And then the last third was really wood forward with minerality, which is, not a good combination. Then by the halfway point, earth forward. So I was like, man, this is disappointing because I feel like it could have been really good, but something about it just seemed off balance for me. Construction was great. So it's got that going for, which is nice, but overall, that's a pretty average experience. Aaron, what about you?
Yeah, for me, the cigar started with toasted oak, earth, black pepper, light smokiness, some minerality, joined kind of in there, some creaminess a bit later. Second, third, kind of saw the profile become fairly dry. Final third took a step down as some pine mintiness and bitterness joined in and kind of built up through the third. I thought the cigar was pretty average. Profile had a number of components, but it was a bit dry and never really elevated itself. That pine mintiness and bitterness kind of had the cigar finishing on a down note. So that was a bit of a bummer, but I wouldn't really see myself returning to this cigar. It was kind of too earth focused and dry, and you kind of see that oily wrapper and you're thinking that this would be, nice and kind of maybe oily and creamy and things like that. But Just not kind of the way things shook out for it. All right, so getting into the scores, going to start at the top with John at 6.1. Jiunn was next at 5.2. I gave it a 5.05, and Seth gave it a 4.18. So, John, how'd that 6.1 match up for you?
Well, it doesn't match up well because, we talk about cigars that are held back by construction. We talk about cigars that are elevated by construction. So if you're looking at this cigar from a flavor perspective, this is a 5.75. It's slightly above average, but it's got flawless construction. You can't really taste the construction. The construction can only hold you back. So that's where it gets a 6.1. But for me, it's really a 5.75 in terms of the flavor.
All right, Jiunn, 5.2.
5.2 means don't buy it.
All right. My 5.05, I guess, is the same thing. Slightly below average flavor profile. Okay construction, which we'll talk about in a minute. So yeah, it just barely keeps its head above that 5 point watermark. Seth, 4.18.
It was just, I just kept thinking that this was a blend that just needed a bigger, it's almost like this would have done better in like a 4.5 by 60. I know that sounds crazy.
It does sound a
it
little
needs some
crazy.
thicker ring gauge, I think.
So like,
It does,
flip
it does.
Flip the Sergeant and
Flip
this around.
flip it around. Make this a coupe friendly Vitola, and I think the blend would be a little bit. I think it just was too much. Like you need to get a little bit more, some like these creamy and mocha qualities, which are there, but they're just getting destroyed by all this pepper and charred wood. It's just, I don't know. It's the other thing is like Nicaraguan Ometepe, Pueblo Nuevo, and Costa Rica, like that filler blend. I'm not crazy about that filler blend reading. And you put that in a Lonsdale too, and I'm like, man, it's just kind of like that's really compressed flavors which have produced this.
Yeah.
And viewers are probably like, wow, Seth really knows what he's talking about when he's saying that right there. And I'll tell you one thing I do, because I could blend a cigar that sucks this much too.
There's
You all could. In fact, I'm telling consumers, if you went down to Drew Estate, you could blend a cigar that tastes just like this. So you can do it. Gringos can do it.
Rangers as well.
There's been talk about this cigar being over humidified from different sources. And
it was. You're right.
Other than the desert that John lives in, where it performed beautifully.
It is a
the rest of us all had burn issues with our
very spongy cigar, for sure.
So I actually commented about that because I feel like we've all been smoking long enough where you can smoke a cigar and go, I feel like this cigar it needs time. And I put that in my notes that I feel like this cigar is unbalanced, and I don't think it's going to ever be a 7, but I feel like this could be a low 6s legitimately. It needs to sit for like 6 months. Cause like, I feel like these tobaccos did not marry at all. And also, listen, if you're going to call it Le Pâtissier, it probably needs to, give flavors of creaminess and baking spices and bread and that sort of thing, because I've been into Le Pâtissier because we've got some here. It's not blasts of pepper and earth and that sort of thing. So like if that's what the name is, is it just me? Am I
No, you're 100% right. And what a lot of people think of when you say burn issues and things like that related to humidity and stuff like that. First thing in the question is how you stored it and all that stuff. But
of course, always.
I'll give a little bit of behind the scenes of how this works at Development Palates. So cigars released in December of 2021. We purchased them, received them the first week of January. And I don't think any of us smoked it until like first week, second week of February. So like, the cigar's been out for a while. We sat on it for at least a month, more than a month. So, I mean, if the cigar can't be ready in that amount of time, then it's not on the smoker. It's, it was shipped maybe incorrectly, or it's some kind of a fault in the construction or whatever is going on. So, everything else we smoke, typically performs well. Comes from a good source, all that kind of stuff. So I don't know what else to say about that. So You don't want to
I'm
put
not gonna blame humidity on this.
yeah, and you don't want to put you don't want to put all the responsibility on the consumer to be able to get the product ready to smoke, right? So they should be able to just smoke it.
I think you put a bunch of tobacco in a blend in a really small ring gauge, and it's just probably it's not going to burn well. Some tobacco doesn't burn well, and I bet if you had made this a bigger cigar and you had a little bit more tobacco in there that you could use for combustion, it would help her perform.
Yeah.
I don't know.
All right. Any other final thoughts so I can get off my soapbox?
Is this a one? Do you know if is this a one and done?
I think it's supposed to be regular production, but
Interesting.
yeah.
Well, maybe they'll play around with the Vitolas, or maybe we'll have a chance to try a second run at this by the IPCPR. See if some times helped.
Have to see.
Yeah, this thing was put in the oven, forgot.
All right. If you just catch this video on YouTube, be sure to subscribe to us. Well, check out
$3.50 for 3 hours.
Check out the full written review developmenthouse.com. Follow us on social media channels. You can catch all of our review recaps on podcasts, so iTunes, Google Play, and Podbean. Thank you for tuning in. We'll catch you on the next one.
Le Pâtissier. Oh.
Hey, Charlie, I was an asshole for you.